Hello, Pelly.
Hi.
I am just waiting for anybody else to join.
Okay.
hmm So, what is it that you do, and how is Power BI going to be helpful?
Yeah, so I'm a software tester,
Oh,
and yeah, so we've got a lot of projects and everything involved. So probably, yeah, maybe rather than doing Excel more, we're trying to get into Power BI and get all those reporting and everything done on Power BI.
okay, cool, good. So, but were you in the basic class session?
Yes, yes, yes. I was on the foundation one. I was on the basic, now the
Oh,
intermediate. So,
wonderful, great.
do you have anything to say, like a certification or like a course thing to say that you've attended these courses or something to?
No,
No.
unfortunately, no, we don't.
No.
But
Okay.
that's a good question. I probably will raise that up with the team lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. So just so that we have some records, like you have for MFT Learning Hub, where you have like a lot of these courses, mandatory courses, like normal courses, and you get
mhm,
like a certification at the end of the
mhm,
course. Maybe
mhm.
just something to say that that's been completed or yeah, we've done it.
Interesting.
Mm,
Okay, I'll note that. I'll raise that up. Yeah, that's a very good one.
okay.
hmm Well, so far it looks like it's just going to be just you. So
Okay.
let's give well, it's about 30 seconds more, and let's see
Yeah, that's fine.
if it's just you. It's good. That means we'll have an interactive session.
Okay.
Mhm. Ah, somebody has joined. Hello. How do I pronounce that? Annalise.
Yeah, Annalise.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Annalise. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm good. So just we've got Pearly and you. We're just about to start anyway, because I just think yeah, anybody else that would join. Oh, Thomas, yeah, you're welcome. Right. So Annalie, can you just introduce yourself, what you do, and how is Power BI going to help?
Yeah, sure. I'm a principal analyst in informatics. I mainly work for the eye and dental hospitals. And I've already sort of had a go at Power BI, built a couple of rudimentary things, but never had any formal training.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Uh, but we use it a lot in our team.
Wonderful. Were you on the basic developer session?
No, but I've kind of used it myself already,
Okay.
so I thought I'd just
So you know, yeah,
yeah.
okay. That's good. That's good. Fair enough. Good. Hi, Thomas.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining us. So just again, introduce yourself, what you do, and how Power BI is going to help.
Yeah, so I work in contracting information as part of Phil Hewittson's team. I've got some experience developing these reports from a previous role as a business intelligence developer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've already got a suite of reports set up, SSRS reports
Mm-hmm.
in our team currently, and I think there's opportunity for us with the move to Epic and a whole set of new data sets for us to start using Power BI and the
Power
functions
BI,
that are
correct?
available. Yeah, but I've got some experience, but it's been a long time since I've done anything that I've been able to deploy. And I think there's definitely some holes in my experience that
Okay.
need filling.
Okay. All right. Great. Anyway, so today will be a kickstart. At least that. So what I'm trying to get is at least everybody has some at least intermediate experience reporting. So this will just be a bit above what we went through during the basic session. So we go a bit more into details into how do we do, how do we connect data? What are the various scenarios to connect to our data? Uh, we'll go to some activities that we go through when we're transforming our data And maybe along the line we'll probably talk about some best practices and all that. Again, we'll revisit DAX, but all the aspect of what we're going to be looking at today on their own, individual, they're all disciplines on their own, that we have to master. So yeah, let's start. Just give me a thumbs up if we can all see my slides.
Yep.
Yeah. And just remind you, this session is being recorded. Again, yeah, we'll capture all our discussion, and our fillers and our gaps, and but everything will be fine. Just be mindful that we are recording. So today we're looking at Power BI Desktop, as you know, and we are going to be looking at 4 pillars of high-quality Power BI solution. All right. So, and this, how do we get in data and transform the data? In other words, how do we prepare our data, right? How do we get it from our various sources? Then we look at some aspect of data modeling. Some of you will be kind of familiar with data modeling, but we'll probably look at some best practices. And then again, we'll just look at some DAX. Again, just refresh our memory on the importance of DAX for calculation and how we can use it, and then how that translates into reporting and visualization. So in a nutshell, this is everything, So yeah, connection to, say, a SharePoint file. I will probably look at that. SQL Server, tabular analysis service, loading the data. So I think what I have come back here, a scenario that we might probably be looking at, connecting to live data in the data warehouse, bringing in flat files, connecting to webs, bringing different types of data files together in a Power BI, and we look at if they require modeling or if they don't require modeling. At the end of the day, how do we get visualization out of our data? That's the key thing here. Okay. So data discovery. So we can either import data, which is for us the scenario, because as you know, there are dashboards that have been developed by the members of the informatic teams, the data developers, the data modelers there. So they are busy developing dashboards for the various domains. So this dashboard exists, but for us, maybe we have files here and there, or we have a local reporting obligation that we need to fulfill, So a possible way of connecting will be the import mode. I will explain that later. And then, of course, sometimes we might need to connect to the data warehouse via the tabular model analysis service. We'll look at that scenario. We want to try and understand what that is. And then the other aspect, data query, which is the standard within the trust for very large data. Of course, we generate a lot of data, clinical data, operational data. So how do we access this? So there's the mode called Power Query. So this is a high-level illustration or diagram or chart of how the different connectivity types that we have in Power BI are stated. So Live Connect, or Live Connection as it is. You can see the characteristics for enterprise solution. No data is stored in memory, that is on your desktop or Power BI desktop. Full reporting, we are not able to do data transformation, no data modeling, high performance and all that. So you can see at the data source, which is the data warehouse, we have the tabular analysis service. Yeah, all those SSI, SSAS, SSRS, all those stuffs there, and some data set for Power BI. All right, they all are the data source. You can see data source, we have the data, and also the data has been modeled already. All right, so for us, with our Power BI desktop, the only thing we have access to is the ability to model. We cannot transform our data, we cannot model our data. So the only thing we have access to is the ability to create visuals, reports, basically. So, and that's Live Connect with Direct Query, which is connecting to various data source or SQL servers, right? Okay, or websites, so to say. All right, we can query the source of the data, and the data lives in the source, at the data source, wherever data relies. But then we have the chance or ability to model, create data model, and also create reports. All right. So, and the last one, we get the data from the, various databases or any other source of data. We pull in the data. So you can see that this cell is blank. Here, the data can come into memory on Power BI desktop, and then we can transform. We have the ability to do our transformation and all that. You can see full data modeling, full data transformation, high performing, right? Okay, because it's not reliant on the systems here. It's just relying on itself. And then we can model, do some data modeling, and then out of the data modeling, we can create our reports. Okay, and Composite is basically the combination of direct query and import. So you can have data at source, you can import your data, plus data querying your data at source. You can see that, and also have data in memory. You can model your data using the two data sources to create a data model. And from there, you can create your report. Excuse me. You can create your report. So these are the various connectivity type that we have. And like I said, we're looking at them. So let's start. I want to assume that everybody has got a Power BI desktop installed. Just give me a thumbs up on their desktop. Just give me a thumbs up if that's true. Thank you. So Pearly, don't you have a Power BI desktop installed?
No,
already?
not yet. No,
Okay.
yeah.
So all right. Okay. So we've been through all this. Right. Normally, you click on Get Data, right? So you can get data from a workbook. These are various sources that you can get data from. So again, let's try getting data from an Excel workbook. Let's see, what do we have? Let's see. Okay. Let's try this to start with. So this is us getting data from a spreadsheet, which is a possible scenario. And we're going for the financial table. And when we do that, we get a preview of what's in our data table. Yep. We can either load or transform. Best practice, click on transform data because you want to be sure that the data you're going to use is clean. And then you might need to, do some transformation. So currently, as it is, we have a single table, right? So as a developer, I'm looking at this table. I feel that we can do something about this duplications here. I'm looking at all that. So we got a date table. Okay, fair enough. We might be able to do some stuff here before we load it for analysis. So this is a typical scenario. You might have a flat data structure, data file somewhere coming, that's been sent to you, and you have to use Excel to slice and dice, do all kinds of VLOOKUP and, all kinds of lookup, all that palaver. But how do we do all that here? So first thing first, ensure that you go to view, look at the integrity of your columns, right? So everything looks good, right? You can see everything looks good. Valid, error 0, yeah, fair enough, it's good. Then another thing you could do a lot here. Check your data type. Country, yeah, that's good, that's good. Yeah, units sold, let's see. Yeah, a decimal number. I'll make that a whole number. Yeah, we can do some things like that. Revenue. Yeah, So if you're happy with this, you might decide to go back home. Again, here, things like column profile, to check the profile of your columns, right? Count. So we have about 700 rows, fair enough. There's no error, nothing. So this is distinct counts of data. We're looking at units sold, about 508, fair enough. Let's look at another column. You can see the data here and all that. So you can check the integrity of your columns, show white space, mono space, but we don't want that, right? So we can say, okay, our data is fine. Let's load. So we've extracted data from source. We've done our transformation. We can still do more. We'll go back to that later. But, in the simplest form, everything looks good. We're loading it back into Power BI. Then we wait for that. And voila, our table now resides in Power BI. You can see all that. So this is the report view. This is where we've built our visuals. But let's see, what data do we have? Right, this is our data. Yeah, we're happy. We only have one table. And this is it. All right. Now, because we're in the intermediate session, we can still do more with this table. So what do? We go back to Power Query, click on Data Transform, and we're back in Power Query. So we need to make this more efficient, right? All these calculations, we need to make it more efficient. We need to create a date, say a date table. So in other words, we have one table, we need to create a data model. Data models are made up of what? Fact tables and dimension table. So in case of our scenario, so we're looking at clinical data, like I said, say encounter, we want to know numbers of encounter across the trust. So, and an encounter will be a fact table, but the dimension in which we want to slice and dice encounter will be things like hospital, divisions, specialty, ward, things like that, So we're looking at a table here, and for my dummy, what can we we can slice this by country, for example. So we can create a table. You know, you can either go to new query, add to new query, and then it creates a copy of the country, right? A list, which you can convert to a table. You can do this in so many ways, you know. So this is one way. Let's cancel that. So this is applied step, which is like, you know, a recorder of your various transformation process. All right, so let's do this first. Call that countries. Okay, and what do we do here? There's a lot of repetition here. We might have to reduce that. So this is 700 rows, yeah, of your data. We could reduce this down. So right click, remove duplicate. Boom, right? So we've reduced from 700 data entry to 5. That's all we need. So with this now, we can add an index column. So if you understand the concept of foreign key, primary key, that's what we're doing here. You can call that country key. Okay, so we just created a table for our country. In other words, we have a fact table, so let's call this fact table. You can rename here. You can call this, you can rename this to as a dimension table. Okay, right. So that's one table. Then let's look at our fact table again. So what I did was right click, say on this, and I said add as new query. I can do this and say, you know what? Duplicate finance or financial. So I have another financial here, and I call it this time product dash team. Like I said, this is Microsoft. There are 1 million ways to do one thing in Microsoft, basically. All right. And then I can come here and I say right click, remove other columns. Just like that. Again, these are all transformation process. And I can say here, right click, remove all. So we have about 700 rows, remove duplicates. Right, we only have 6 products. Okay, and then we add an index column to that. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm in the process of building my data model. And all this is from a single spreadsheet that we got, right? Okay. I'm building that, right? So that's one table. Okay, let's see, what else can we? All right, so what you want to do with your fact table, you want to reduce all the text to numbers as much as possible. All right, so before we do that, again, let's assume we need a data from a different source. All right, so we can bring in data from different sources. So this time I want to go on SharePoint, sorry, no, a website. I'll show you. I want to get the population of our countries in our table. So who knows, we might need the population figures for some sort of analysis at some point. All right. So what I'll do, I'll go to the website. This could be eBay, government data website where you have data, right? And you want to pull in data. So what I'll do is just click on the URL, copy that. Now, still remember that we're in Power Query Editor. We're not in Power BI. However, if you go to New Source, click on New Source, you have almost the same option that we have in Power BI. All right. And when you click on the option Web, yeah, that's what we need. From Web URL, we'll paste it in there. Okay. And then we click on OK, and then it goes on to the website to interrogate for all available data table that exist. It's doing that. Okay, so those are all the tables that exist on that website. And I think the one we need is this one. All these other tables are different. If I click on check, notice that there's no transformation option here anymore because we're already in the transformation space. We're already in Power Query Editor. So if we click OK, it's loading. It's loading, it's creating yeah, and that's the new table. So we can call that population dim. Right. And then here we can say, again, choose column. This is another way of doing this. And choose the columns that you need, country, and this one. Right? Change the population, that not to pop. Okay. Yeah, we can filter it down to the countries that we need. There to start with. Let's start again. What did I do? Oh, okay, fair enough. United States. I think we have France. I think we have Germany. I think the last one is Mexico. So we've been able to filter that list of countries to what we need, because that's what we have in our fact table. Here, you can see all that. So the only thing left here is to ensure we probably add a add column, add index column, and we call that population key. So what have I done now? So from a single file, I've been able to create at least 2 dimensions, country and population, sorry, country and products. And I've also, I think, maybe I would need to do dissect my data, my finance with population figures. So I've gone out onto the ether, to the world, the internet, to see if I can get the current population figure of the country that we represent. and are pulling data from that site. Okay. You can also, if you have relevant data, so for example, say from a spreadsheet. Okay. Again, it's the same process. Go to Home, New Source, click on Web. All right. So let's assume you have data somewhere living in spreadsheets on SharePoint. Let me see. Let's open Excel. So this is what you will do anyway. Look for the Excel file that reside in SharePoint. So I'm just saying, like this guy here, for example, somewhere on SharePoint. If I click on it, I will open the file. I might even bring the file in. Yeah, okay. There's a lot of data on that file. Okay, so this is what we have. So I go to File, Info, right? And then I'll click on Copy Path, right? So once I've done that, I'll close down the file, come back here, paste the link that I've just copied. And what I would do before I click on OK, I need to delete from the question mark to 1, that question mark web equal 1. I need to delete that. Right, and that's it. And then I click on OK. So let's see what happens. Now let's assume that this is a related data that we can use. So you might have different data everywhere, but you might need to bring them together, which is what we're doing now. Again, it's interrogating the file. And just to get a preview of what we are dealing with. Okay. This table. All right. So let's assume that that's the table we need. We check that. And we'll click on OK. And it's going to bring that in. So, and that's our data. So what have I done now? Again, taking a simple Excel file, brought into Power BI. We've divided the Excel file into 2 dimensions, right? And we've also gone onto the internet to get some data. And I've also shown you examples, how to get data from a SharePoint location. Now, all these are all examples of imports, right? So let's assume this is clean, you know, and all that. If I click close and apply, let's see what magic happens here. So it's loading it into Power BI now, or Power BI desktop. And Power BI has a way, if the option is on, it will attempt to create a data model on your behalf. And that's it. That's the data model. So if you click on this, we can see what we're looking at. Now, this is our fact table. Now, this table is not related. Remember, that's the last table I imported, so it's not related to this. But these are related. So what we really want to create here is a star schema. So this is a one-to-one relationship. This is a one-to-many relationship. What we want to achieve, best practice, is to create a one-to-many relationship, and we create a star schema. And I'll show you why we call, well, I'm sure you know why we call it a star schema. Can somebody explain what a schema is to me, please? Anybody? You get a prize. Thomas, can you attempt it? Okay, no problem. I will explain what a star schema is. So what we're looking at is a model, and models either come in star or what we call snowflake schemas, right? So as it is right now, it's not a perfect star schema because this is more like a basic snowflake schema. Now I'm going to delete this one-to-one relationship because we don't want that. We want our relationship to be one-to-many, where the fact table, which is the heart of our data model, is the many side, and our dimensions. So we have 3 dimensions here. This table is completely unrelated. All right, so we'll just keep it by the side. Right. So what we want to do, we have, I think it's population, right? We can link country to country here. All right, so we have at least a star schema. Not that it looks like a star, but of course, let me show you what the visuals so you will understand. Talking about. Yeah, star schema versus snowflake, you know. They usually go for the image or images, for example. So we're trying to build something like this. Fact tables surrounded by dimension tables. All right. So this is a typical encode star schema. You see the fact table in the middle, and then dimensions table surround. And this is the best practice. This is what we want to achieve. Snowflake schema, you can see that we have fact tables connected to other fact tables, connected to other dimension. We want to actually run away from things like that. So when you are doing your data model, star schema is the objective. So we have something like this. You know, fact table, dimension table, which is what we have here. All right. So, and again, we can start creating our visuals. All right, so this is the unrelated table, right? This is coding, which is this table, right? So for example, you can have a scenario like this, right? This table is not related to all this table, but you can say, you know what? On page 1, about coding. While on page 2, it will be about sales, right? So you can come here, say coding. You're not going to touch all this. Okay, I am going to write a measure. I'm going to quickly write a DAX function. So I'm clicking on new measure. I'm going to call the DAX measure. Just watch this. Count, say, of spells. something like that, equal to, I'm going to introduce a function, a DAX function called count. So this is a list of DAX functions, right? But the one I'm interested in is this guy here called count. And what is it that I want to count? You can see here, it's giving me a list of possible columns that I can count. So this is, of course, this is what we call IntelliSense, which is that AI behind Power BI. So I'm clicking on coding, right? So that's the table, which is that table. Exactly what I want to count in that table. So I can scroll down. And I think there's something called spells. Yeah, okay. So spells H. I'm just using that basically. So I'm going to count that. Okay. So I just created a virtual calculation from my data, right? If I click OK. Right, and that's it. Now I can use that, say, in say the chat, for example. I say count to spells, right? Say by specialty, or let's see, depending on what the business is asking you to do. Okay. So, and this is all about coding. So you can do all sort of things here, you know. Okay, count of spells again. Still using yeah, still using, where is it? Still using DAX measure, our calculation that we created. This time, maybe, let's see. I think there's hospital somewhere. You can't find it. You can do a search. Oh, okay. What about sites? All right, so that does not exist. Okay, I think I know. So by district, we've done specialty. Let's do, I'm just looking for the right. So this shows that I'm not really aware of some of the technical, the coding terminology. Okay, let's do by maybe patient classification. Yeah, so you can build your visuals here based on coding, and then you can have another set of data that talks about something else totally different. So this is talking about sales, for example. So we don't need this table anymore. Coding. So we can now go to a financial table, for example, right? Which is this relationship here. So we've done some sort of analysis on this. We now want to do some sort of analysis on this. And then we can say, okay, revenue country. And we want to know, okay, that will give us the map. And then another graph. So this time we want to know profits, say, by country. Revenue, say, by year. We'll use this one. something like that. So you can build 2 different reports within an instance of Power BI. That's what I'm trying to prove here. Any question, any comment, any I just need some feedback from anybody. So far, anything has been highlighted to you? Pearly?
No, can you add more functionality? Say, like, I know you mentioned the account as well as by speciality. Can you do like speciality, directorate, and say department on one graph? Can you do more than 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. Basically, that's the idea, you know, as long as you have, so this is coding, for example.
Yeah. No, not on different graphs, just on one graph. Can you add more?
Oh, you mean, so specialty, right?
Yeah.
Let's try, I don't know, let's see, right? So what do you want?
So I'd say department.
Department now. Do I have that? See,
Oh,
you
it doesn't say
probably,
directorate. I don't have directorate.
you might be more familiar with the terminologies here. So let me see. So what we have here, let me see.
Okay.
Right. You can have legends, right? You can see things like that, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but again, you have to put your consumers, you have to, you know, look at, okay, what will make this easier for them to understand what is going on here, right? So that's you playing around, you know, with your data set, with your visual. One thing you can do here, so you can format, see, this is the format icon. You can format your tiles. So for example, in the general, let's see, what do we have? The various, you know, you can, you know, size, responsiveness. You can play around with that. You can play around with data color, for example. So if you don't like the blue, I like fuchsia or baby pink. You know, you can have things like data label to make things clearer. You can put borders on your graph. You can have, again, you will have to play around with things like this to make it stand out. This is where your visualization skills comes up. Okay, so again, you're telling the story. You know, so you know, like I said earlier, these are various different sources of data. We've got clinical data, we've got something totally unrelated here. We've been able to get data from the outside world, i.e. the internet, you know, and form a data relationship. Okay, another thing you want to do here is create what we call a date table. Now, why do you want to create a date table? So for example, I think in coding. So in coding here, in this table, for example, you have multiple dates. You have discharge date, for example. You have admission date. Okay. So the question is, if you're doing analysis, what date do you use? What date do you use for your analysis? So, you know, do you use the admission date or do you use the discharge date? So best practice for a developer is to create a separate date table. And I'll show you how to do that. Analysts, are we clear about what we have done so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Any new insight to what you already know?
This is helpful, knowing how to set it up, because I knew how to make the data connections, but I didn't know the best practice on how to organize it.
Okay, good. Anyway, we're getting there. So, but this is clear. Good. And you can see, so this is all imports, right? We have all the 3 modes. Remember from the slides, we're talking about different types of connections, right? So we've just done this. So let's see if we can replicate either of the two, Live Connect and Direct Query. So I'm just going to close all this. I'm not going to save it. Boom. So launch another instance. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. That's my hold music. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Yeah, it's back. So we have a new instance. We want to connect to, say, a tabular service. So we have analysis service here. Yeah, so if we click on that, you can see that I have options here, either to import or connect live. All right, I think, let's see. The name of the training server. Yeah. And we're not going for imports, we're going for connect live or live connection. Voila, it connected straight to the data. All right, so we have the training data sets, right? A demo, internet sales. All right, now look at what happened here. Let me see what's happening here. If I have access to, let's say, clinical coding, right? Okay, so look at the views here. So we have the visual report view, data view, and the modeling view. Let's see what happens. So remember, this is the connect, live connect. So we're connected to live data, the live database, so to say. Right, and look at that. The only option we have is the report, and we can see the data model behind all that. Oh, there we are. It's a bit scary, but don't be scared. But that's an example. But this is what the data modelers have done. So all we need to do is just come here and start building our reports from all these tables. Right, so.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, sir, go on.
Just curious, and you may have already answered this, but could you connect to the model that you've essentially created in the first report and just start creating a new suite of reports on the back of the work that you've already done there?
Okay, so sorry. So the first instance, the first reports or the first visuals that I created, right? Mm-hmm. Can I connect a tabular service to that? Is that what you mean?
I'm just wondering if you can reuse all of that work that you've done. So you'd input some data and you'd essentially modeled it, hadn't you?
Well, if I saved that, if I've saved, which I didn't, to be honest with you, I did not save that. However, if I've saved it and I launch it, I can then connect to any data source. So such as this guy, for example, and add to that model, to that visualization, because I have some fresh data coming in. All I have to do is go to transform and see how I can link the data together, create a data model out of all my data sources.
I'm just wondering if you could reuse what you've modeled. So in a new visual report, in a new report, could you
okay. So if I've modeled this, let's assume I've modeled this, right? And I've created a report say on page 1, for example, yeah,
Mhm.
I can go to page 2 and create something else.
So you'd have to do it all within the same
Yeah,
collection.
yeah.
essentially.
So,
Right. Okay.
so an instance is a report, right?
Yes.
But the report has multiple pages.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if, because we may, I've got a question. The question is from the perspective of we're modeling the data, we're developing. So although we've got access to the data warehouse, so much like the principal analysts will be familiar with, we are then modeling it again in SQL. So we could shape the data at that stage as opposed to having to do the work in Power BI.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, but I think it's likely we probably will do that. I don't know if this is the right place to ask
Yeah,
these questions, but do we? I'm wondering
So,
if we need to create tabular models, and I'm not sure exactly what that would
it depends.
entail.
It depends on your data source. For example, say you're okay. If you're getting the data from an SQL server, for example, right? You can either bring it into Power Query and do your transformation, right?
Mhm.
Or you can choose to do your transformation before bringing it into Power BI in the first place.
Yeah.
So in this case, data modelers have done all the transformation, right?
Mhm.
I don't have to do anything. All I have to do here is just build my visuals. So I'm
Yeah.
a visual BI developer.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about, data transformation, which is the tedious part, the cleaning part.
Well, this is I've got the tedious part to do. I think that's the question is whether, because it's likely we're going to serve our data sets will serve multiple purposes and multiple audiences.
Uh-huh.
So rather than hosting the reports all across different pages,
Uh-huh.
I think it's likely that we'll have to model the data out of Power BI and in
Yeah.
SQL,
Yeah.
and
So
then
if you have to
prepare it.
model it in say tabular service,
Yeah.
clean it up there, and then people like me who does only visuals, just like
Yeah.
I've done, will connect using sorry, the option we use here,
Yes. Yeah.
which is well, it's not doing it anymore. But
No, I saw. Yeah.
yeah, you saw it.
Is there an opportunity within this training to understand how to develop those tabular models, or is that beyond?
It's out of the scope of this training.
Because this is just purely within what we can do within Power BI.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. We work closely with Cassian Butterworth and Catherine Mann and Jabran Rafiq. So I don't know if you're familiar with those, but
Not really. I'm still new here myself.
right. Okay. Yeah. No, we'll probably pick it up with them and see how we model our data at that stage. But it's not to say that this hasn't been really useful. This is really good to see what you can do.
Wonderful. I'm happy. I'm really good. I'm happy for that question, because it's a good question. Yeah, good.
Cool.
Right. So yeah. So this is connecting to the tabular service, and it's the same principle, So here you can start building. You don't have to do any transformation and all that. It's the same principle if we have to do it, say, connecting to a database directly, which will be direct query, right? So again, let's see. This is the part I kind of like, because it gives me the opportunity to, just say whatever I like, fill in the gaps while it launches. Okay, there we are. So if you do get data, right? This time, instead of analysis service, we'll go for SQL Server. Again, and you can see the options here, direct query, right? So let's see, think BI.dev. It's gonna work. Yeah, current credentials. Okay, looks like I do not, hold on, let me see. Let's see if that will happen. But you understand, this is those, what's going on here? All right, let's see. This has never happened. Okay. All right, so that's not working for me. But again, if you have the credential to the database, this is what you will do, and you will connect to the database, and you'll be able to do a direct query to that database. All right. Okay. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? So for people who create dashboard for us, maybe people in the Thomas space, this is your connectivity type. For the rest of us who, again, spreadsheet, SharePoints, this is what we've just looked at. We've looked at both of them anyway. We've seen how we can connect to our data sets. Right, we've explained this. Right.
Can I just ask about those connections? Sorry, I did have another question. You may have answered it
Go on.
already again. It's just with regards to, because I know when I first started looking at Power BI, a big selling point was that live connection. So I think, the way I understood it was something like A&E. You can see a live position of what the current positions are and performance in A&E.
Yeah.
To inform decisions, say. And I remember somebody explaining sort of big data, and so you could take data from Twitter, could have picked up a trend of people picking up colds, and we could have forecasted COVID. Yeah. I don't know, but and you talked about taking external data from websites. Was that just on the import, or was that for a live connection?
Well, so for the live connection, so imagine data is being coming in from the front line, from the triage, from the A&E into the database.
Yeah.
Right. And Power BI is directly connected to that database.
Yes.
So each time you press refresh or you schedule refresh, say every 10 minutes, every 24 minutes or whatever minutes, you get the current data as it is.
And it's constantly moving, isn't it? It allows you to see those trends, but in live, effectively. My question was more about licensing and sort of data protection. Are we able to, or is there any instance or examples of where we're using external data from outside of the trust, combined with what we've got modeled in our warehouse? Is that anything?
I don't know. That's a specific domain question, because I won't know, again, what each individual domain, what sort of data have access to. But I guess, I've just shown you an example of how you can get data from an external source.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Sorry, it is very specific, and I didn't expect you to know.
No, but the principle is there.
Curious to know, if it's because it is something I know the functionality or the ability to do it was a big selling point when they kind of launched this software, and I think it's interesting. Even something like ambulance service, which is northwest as opposed to Manchester. Trust.
As long as you're able to connect to the database that the frontline data goes into. So, the ambulance driver, the paramedics, they're inputting data on their handheld, and it goes into a database. As long as you have connection, to that database, from your Power BI, you'll be able to pull the data. There might be delay, there might be a few minutes delay, few seconds delay, but it's much more better than yesterday's data, for example. So you
Yeah.
get almost real-time data access, depending on how the architecture, the setup is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it's quite exciting. But
Cool.
be curious to know in terms of licensing, you know, handling that data in the cloud and obviously combining that with our
That need to be able, you probably will have to speak to the engineering, the
yes,
architects,
of course, yeah.
and on that. Cool. Thanks. I like that. I like that. Again, the
Cheers.
key thing here, as we is for you to understand your business requirement, your domain requirement. What story, does the say nurse on the floor or the consultant on the floor? What story is it that they want to read from your data? All right, so we have things like theater utilizations, encounter trends, analysis, and stuff like that. Now, question is how you as a developer will get all those information from your data and present it in a more visual, pictorial form, which is what we're looking at as how will Power BI allow us to do that? Okay, all right. So we've looked at transformation, we looked at data modeling, right? We've mentioned things like star schemas and a dimension table. So what I want to show you is, say, creating a date table, for example. So let's assume we're getting that data, and let's go to my Excel workbook, which is the scenario. We have the clinical coding data. Yeah. Just wonder, is that the data that I'm working on? All right. I don't want to use that because it's got some personal information. Let's use that. We'll go for that. Oh. I don't want to use that. Apologies for my delay. I'm just trying to find. All right. I'll default to my domain data because that's got some, I don't know, some colleagues that you might know or might not know. I don't want to, bring in personal data. But yeah. So let's assume you have a data like this, right? Best practice is to create a date table, and there are various ways to create date table. Various ways, one example is to go to, say, click on new source, blank query, call this calendar one. So you want to create a date table that will help you in your analysis. And once you've done that, go to advanced editor. Now, here I'm introducing you to Power Query Editor coding language. All right. It's not something that you should worry about now, but as you become proficient in Power BI development, you'll probably get familiar with the syntax and code, right? But for today, let me see. I'm just going to copy a code just to give you an example of what's possible. Just 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Now, there are various ways to create date table. I'm just going to share a code that's been written to make things easier. So what I've done is go to new cells, clicked on blank query, and then I'm editing that blank query by going to what we call the advanced editor within the query tab. And then all this is happening with the Power Query Editor. I've titled my blank query calendar 1, and I've spent time typing out all this code because I'm so good, right? So basically this contains all the necessary code that will create, if I click done, all right, it's asking for a parameter. So it's asking for the start date in your data and the end date. So if you go to this, if we look at our dates, so I think the start date starts from 01/09/2008, and I think it ends 01/12/2019. So we come back here, 01/09/2018 to 01/12, right? Ignore culture option, just go for invoke, and voila. These are all the tables that we can use to slice and dice our data. Now, you might not need all the columns. So what you want to do here is that dates 1, just an example, right? You can call it dates, I'm just, because I'm going to create another table for you to see. So here you can come and say, you know what, I don't need all these columns. I just need a few. So you can choose column. And you can say, okay, I only need dates, year, quarter, month. I don't need all this financial blah, blah. I need month name, month in calendar, depending on what you need, what sort of date structure, time intelligence structure that you need to slice and dice your data. And once you're done, voila. And then you can move, right? And then close and apply. So I've just shown you how to create a date table or a role-playing table. And this is best practice to create a date table. So if we go to our relationship, so that's a date, all right? So we can link that to this, that's a relationship, all right? So we don't need to use any date here in our financials. This could be this is our primary data table, right? So again, when we divide this into dimensions, again, all right? So this is one way to create a date table. Another way to do it, by the way, there's a text, there's a document, a user guide or workbook that comes with this training. That code is actually included in that user guide. I'll show you where to get it, so you can always download and try and use it for yourself, right? So another way that I'm trying now to create a date table. So we have, dates already included in a fact table or in a main table. So all I can do this and add new query, for example, okay, and convert that to a table. All right, so I can call this dates. All right, so that's giving me the list of all the dates that is available in my financial table. And then I can now do things like this: duplicate column, right? And then right click, transform. I want to have this column just years alone, right? So I can say, so imagine you have a dates thing on your data on your spreadsheet, right? I can come back again and say duplicate this column. All right, this time I want to right click, transform. I need months. I click on months. Guess what will happen? I'll just get numbers, right? So I can call this month number. Okay, again, duplicate. So you create the columns that you need. All right, right click. Instead of numbers now, I go to month, transform to month, name of month. All right, so hey, that could be my dates table. So I call this date 2. So I just created a date table instead of writing all that codes. Now this is the table. If we go to highlight the table, if you click on Advanced Editor, let's see what we have. So that's all the code for all this. And this is the M language. Yeah. And then we can use this. If I close and apply. So this is the first date table that we created. And that's the second table. Again, you can, so I've just shown you 2 different ways to create date table. Any comments, any question on that? Is that clear? Let me have a thumbs up. Thank you. Pearly, you there?
Sorry, I was trying to find out what the thumbs up was.
Is that useful? Is that useful?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Great. So, yeah, and those are the major things. So we've looked at, let's see. Let's go to, essentially, we've looked at how we get data, how we transform data on a high level, done some data modeling. All right, so yeah, we've been able to look into some DAX, so we'll look at more of that. Does anybody have experience with DAX? Anybody?
No, I don't.
Okay, but you understand the concept of how we use it. So
no, not really. I
okay.
presume it's another data set. It's another way of connecting and.
All right.
Modeling.
So this is our data. All right, let's do a bit of transformation on this again. What's the time? Okay, we've got some few minutes. So go back to data transform. right? So again, let's assume that this file is somewhere, right? And you're connecting to it and you're getting the data and you want to refresh it with new data. Just click on refresh. It will pull in new data into your columns, right? So, but let's see, let's do some transformation. Okay, now I'm just going to delete data, date this with this one. I think one is necessary that we need. We might have to delete this too. Yeah. Okay. So this is our date table. Rename that. So this is where you will spend most of your time. Transformation, getting your data prepared. Because once it's prepared, we're fine. Another thing that we can create here is let's clean that. That's the month name. We can also do this. Duplicate column, and this time right, transform, boom. Okay, so I think we have our date table is beautiful right now. Okay, we can divide this into dimensions just like I did earlier.
So this process and the functions within this process, that's DAX, is it? So I think it's just
no.
a knowledge thing.
This is Power Query. We're not DAX yet. I'm just trying to get it ready so we can use DAX later, right?
Okay.
So we're still in Power Query, right? But you understand this process?
Yes.
Yeah. Earlier when I did all this into separate dimension and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not going to go through that now, so because it will take a bit of time. So let's just load what we have. And it's boom. Okay. So we can link this to this. What is going on here? Right. Oh, okay. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, we have dates and financials. We have a different, okay, let's see. So this is something probably you will come across. So how do we troubleshoot errors like this? Let's see what we have. So we have the dates here, okay. All right, they're all in the same format. Okay, I think we're good here. From here, dates, right? See that format? And I think we're going for a short. All right, so if we go back to our data sets, yeah, that looks good. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I think I know what is wrong. So, Thomas, what do you think is wrong here?
I don't know. I can. I
So
thought.
this is
Well,
this is
you suspected it was a data type, didn't you? And then
yeah.
which I thought
Okay.
IntelliSense sort of took care of, really. But
I think
it
there's no
suggests it's many
relationship.
to many. Is it? Is it that the
There's no
table's not?
relationship between this table and that table.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I want to do. I want to create a primary key here, and hopefully that should work.
Okay. I can't quite see the dates, the values that are in this date table. Is it a repeating value there? 1st of December 2019, again and again.
Again, hold on a second. I didn't even see that.
Curious.
No, they're all different dates. You can see that from the list.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all different dates. So, all right. Hopefully this should work. Go home. Merge queries. All right, so this is me aligning my queries to each other. So, and that's the table. There we are. No. Aha, there's a match. Can you see that? And then okay, let's go back one step. Okay, and I think that should solve our problem. Let's go here. Let's see. Aha. Problem solved. Okay. So we can start building the visuals. So DAX, right? So I want to create, say, a DAX, a calculation, right? So I guess, say, total revenue to start with. That's what I want to know. Okay, which is equals to, let's say sum is the function that we want to use from DAX. So that's a list of DAX function. You can see all that. This is all different DAX function. I'll show you where you can get references for them. So they all do different sort of calculation. Just like you have in Excel, you have functions, you have divide operators, you have all kinds of functions that do all sort of things. So for aggregation, for scientific calculation, for so the same way you have all that within Power BI. So in this case, we're using the DAX function. And to start that, we write the function, which is what, and then we start with a bracket, and it's expecting a column name. So that's the summary. So this function is expecting a column name. All right. So what column are we looking for? The IntelliSense is giving you a list of all the columns available. What are we looking for? Say financial revenue. So we're looking for the total revenue within the financial table, for example, right? And that's what we've just written a DAX expression. The measure name is called total revenue. Okay, and then we click on the tick box to validate that. And if you look here, we've just written a DAX function. So if you go into the visuals, right, we can use that DAX function in our visual. So for example, if I tick on that box, so that's just from a visual, from a DAX function that we just created, right? And we can use that DAX function, you know, say we're looking at sales per country, right? Click on the outside box, let's say, right? So we can look at, again, total revenue, which is all that, divided by, where is it? Say country. And that's just the DAX measure that we've just created. In this case, sum. If you look at a table, right? And we're using it again in that table, that's it, right? However, we can slice and dice it by, say, product. All right, and all we've done here is just to use our DAX calculation. Now, this DAX calculation is probably the same as this guy here, which Power BI has already calculated for us. So let me just put that in the table. Let's see. Oh, it's different. Okay, fair enough. Oh yeah, this is profit and that's revenue. Right, you can see that. So this is the revenue calculated by Power BI. This is what we've been able to calculate using DAX function. Right, so another example of DAX function, for example, let's look for another function. Say count. Right, say count number of products. Yep. The equal signs, just like in any Excel, tells the software that you're about to perform a calculation. So in this case, we're going to use the count function. So these are different functions. So you can see the count functions. So this count is expecting a column name. So I think what we want to count is the number of products, for example. So, and the products, that column resides in the financial table, right? Okay, so we've just written an expression to count the number of products we have in our data set, right? And the data set is the financial table. So again, if you press enter, and you can see that. And if you bring that in to a card, so these are visuals depending on what you want to say, right? Number of products. 34. Right. 34K. Hold on. That might not be right. Let's see. Let me use another function called count row. Let me use another. Yeah, let's try another one called distinct count. All right. Okay, that's much better. So here I'm using another function called distinct count. All right, so let me just show you. So this is the Microsoft page that shows you a list of DAX function, data analysis expression, right? So we just, for the example that we're looking at, let's see. So there are loads of them, about 200 plus, for example. I think we're looking at the aggregation function, yeah. So I'm gonna look at that. Average applies to a column. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to get the average of the extended sales amount within the internet sales table. Remember, we just used count row, distinct count. What does that do? Count the number of distinct value in a column, right? Distinct value. So distinct count in the resellers table, you need to know the distinct sales order number, right? So hold on. So on all these are measures. So this is a measure. This is a measure. All right. It does. They don't have any column, physical column. Another thing that we use DAX for is to create what we call, say, a calculated measure. So a calculated column. So we create a measure, right? We have also tried to, when we're going to try and create a new column. So if I click on new column, you will actually see a physical column here. Right? So what is it that we want to know? Let's assume that, okay, we made a lot of money, right? And this is the cost of production. Let's generate the profit using a DAX measure. So as an example, so total profit. Again, right? So this is more like Excel. This is how you reference a column, square brackets, and it brings out all the columns within the table. So we're interested in revenue. So all the money you've made minus, right? That's an operator. That's the usual operator for minus sign. The cost, again, the column. Right? And then let's see what happens. And you can see that it's basically the same thing as what the system or Power BI has generated. We also, it's the same thing we have here. Right? So what am I trying to say? You can use DAX column, right, to create measures. And you can use DAX to create calculated columns. All right? And in some cases, you can use them to create virtual tables. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Let me see what I have in my slides to give you more explanation. Covered all this DAX expression. So what is DAX expression? Power BI function helps in finding more details, information from raw data. Data manipulation is done with the help of DAX. Analysts can produce fresh insight by discovering new ways of data collection with the help of DAX. Yeah, okay, this is just a story. And like I said, there are various DAX categories. There's DAX functions to help you with your time intelligence. That is, say, create date table. For example, let me just show you all that. So for time intelligence, for example, so this is date function. So things like date diff, you might want to know, say, the difference between the dates. For example, say between admission and discharge date. That's how you calculate that using DAX. See, we have maths and functions, maths and trigonometry functions, logical functions, DAX functions for people in accounting. You don't need to know everything, like I said. Time intelligence function.
It appears a lot of the terminology is familiar. It's like Excel and SQL.
Exactly. In a way.
Too new to learn. But are there wizards in Power BI that you can kind of create a function with, or have you got to write it out as code?
There is wizard, although I don't really spend time on it. I'll show you what that is. Okay. Right. So if you go to the so where it says quick measure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that only allows you to write measures
as opposed to
calculated column. So I said DAX can be used for writing measures.
Mm-hmm.
DAX can also be used to create calculated columns.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
And then you go through all this depending on what you want to calculate, and then you bring in the fields. So it's a wizard, but
it looks like an extension of the you can do these calculated measures in pivot tables, can't you? It looks like an extension of that.
The DAX exists in a lot of Microsoft products.
Right.
Even in the tabular service, I think it exists in the reporting service, the SQL Server analysis service.
It's probably something I've used and know, maybe some of the other users are familiar with it. It's just, I think it's just that terminology and knowing.
I'm sure. But it's one of the most important tool set to make you a competent Power BI developer. Because you'll find out, although you can build visuals, by dropping and dragging what you have here, but sometimes you might need to create your DAX.
It's definitely something we're gonna. I need to dig and use and understand better, because I think I had the overview of the visuals and it looks great, doesn't it, on the page? So it's just more about knowing how you get what you need out of it.
Exactly.
I think the only way of doing that is actually doing it in practice.
Exactly. I'm still learning. I'm still practicing, to be honest with you. On a lot of, because there's a lot, and you will only know the few ones you use for your domain anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Pearly, Annalise, what do you think so far?
Good.
So is DAX is the language, right?
Yeah.
Right. And is it just confined to your kind of calculations and data manipulation, or is it under the hood used for the visuals as well?
Well, for example, so let's see. I will show you some. So this is a visual, right? So to create this visual, we've used two things, right? We've used the country field, right? But also, we've also used the total revenue DAX function that we created. If I highlight that, you can see the function here, right? And that has been used here.
Yeah. Right. Okay. But I mean, like, so you couldn't say, okay, I'm just gonna do away with the kind of desktop, like drop and clicking things,
Mhm.
I'm just going to purely use DAX.
Oh,
It's
you can
still
do that.
need to. Right.
In
Okay.
fact, Oh, you can definitely use that. Let me give you some weird examples, show you some weird example. But you understand the concept anyway here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's look at some weird examples. This is not the best practice, but you will see what I mean. Because I'm still going to have a meeting with these guys, the turnaround guys, in a way they're beyond this session, right? But at the same time, the way I see what they've done is like, oh yeah, I can drive, right? But I don't know the rules. So guess what? You drive, you create your own rules, and but you will see they've really done well by using DAX in a lot of their business scenarios. Come on. It's gonna show up. Oh, okay. There. Thing. Yeah. That's because when they created this report, they created it on the new version of Power BI, and the Power BI on the MFT desktop has not been updated yet. That's why I was getting that error. But they should come up. Please come up. I think it's there actually. That's the old one. Oh, it's taking its time. Okay, that might not work today. All right. Oh. Okay. All right. I might have to kill that session. Let's see. Oh. Just because it's got loads of things going on, it's actually launching. I'm just about to kill it off. So as you can see, because they've put in a lot of work in this, they've not considered performance. This is why we're having this issue. But what I really want to show you here is, so these are all their tables. But all these are what we call DAX categories that they've created. Now, don't get scared by what you see. So I'm still going to go back to them. We need to do a lot of house cleaning on this, but they're just attempting to create a dashboard on their own without consulting, yours truly, the expert. Yeah. Let's see. It's launching. Right. So all this, can you see all that? All these are examples of DAX that has been used to create this report. So if I highlight one, for example, so this is, don't get scared, but this is how complex DAX calculation can be. Yeah. You can have a DAX calculation that can be a page long, like literally cover the whole of this screen. Just like sometimes, Excel function can just be 1 or 2 lines, and then somebody will say, oh, can you please take a look at my function? I don't think it's right. And then you get there, you find out it's almost 2 pages long, and you don't know where to start from, right? The same way with Excel, with DAX, you can see this is DAX using variables for some sort of conditional formatting, changing colors and stuff like that. And this is just one category. And all that they do in this category is measure appraisals. So this is another category. Look at that. All right. So again, it's going to take some time to get to this point, but the journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one step. So just to show you examples of what's possible. All right. So let's see what else. We'll talk about DAX a bit. So yeah, I'm going to send you this slide so you can, have a go at it. So, but what is it? So what is DAX used for? Scalar functions, in other words, generate singular unit of result, like those ones we have on the card. Creating measures, you've seen that. Creating calculated column, you've seen an example of that. Creating virtual tables or, columnar storage. Aggregations, things like generating maximum, minimum, creating filters and iterators. Basically, these are, so all the results you find. So, okay, let me put it this way. Let's do it this way. To start with, DAX can be divided into two. We have what we call implicit DAX, and then what we call explicit DAX. Implicit DAX are, I'll just show you. So all this with the summation sign, all the pre-calculated summation numbers that we have are what we call implicit DAX. All right. Our measures, on the other hand, are called explicit DAX. Our calculated columns, so that's the sign of a calculated column, explicit DAX. Okay. Where are we? So I've just shown you, Thomas, quick measure. You saw that. Right. So when we're looking at DAX, there's what we call context. There's what we call the evaluation context. So what makes up the evaluation context are what we call the filter context and also the row context. So what does that mean? Okay, we'll talk about expression. Context. Filter context and row context are two types of DAX context in Power BI. All right, so you will hear this a lot. If we want to focus on a specific value within a row, or wish to apply filter to a particular benefit in a row, rather than choosing the entire row, right? The filter context comes into use. So what are we saying with that? So we are looking at this calculation or this visuals, the evaluation context. We're evaluating the total revenue by country, right? So the filter context will be things like, if I click on Canada, for example, you can see that the numbers are changing. So I'm using France or United States to filter my numbers to generate the calculations that I want. Hence, we call it the filter context. You use a filter, and the filter can come from the visuals. So from, say, a slicer, for example, and in the slicer, you have things like country. So this is filter context in action. Why am I not getting any numbers? Right. So a filter context can come from any points within the data, right? Okay. Now a row context. So all this individual numbers right now, right? This is for each row, each result has its context. So this is the row context for each result. So what you have in your column is based on what we call the row context. All right. Not to worry too much about it, but just understand there's what you call the filter context and the row context. Sometimes it takes a while to get around it, but that's the simplest way I can explain it for now. All right, let's see. So row context, we apply a filter to a specific row in the table to carry out DAX calculation. This row context applies the formula for the count on a row, on a current row. So we're looking at the result that is generated on that particular row. While the filter context filter a column and gives an aggregate result, so to say. All right, so again, it's not possible to understand DAX overnight. We've established that, right? Again, of course, there's a lot of videos you can watch here and there, resources online, especially on YouTube, right? But that's part of the journey, all right? It says that there's a lot of frustration within that journey, and it's true, trust me, because there's a lot of logical development, logical building. It's not just going to work, and you find out that some of the logic that you have in Excel might not work. You might have to readjust your thinking to Power BI. Excel works in cells and columns and rows. There's no concept of cells within Power BI. Power BI simply works with tables, columns, right? Now, SQL BI is one of the great resources to visit to upskill yourself in DAX, right? So I think Thomas was asking for something like that. So visit that website. Okay.
That's great. Thanks.
Wonderful. Right. So, yeah. So I think we have some standards. You'll find a link within the documentation. We also have some templates. I'll show you how the template is being used, for example. I'm just going to close this. Come on, disappear. Oh, no, don't save. Boom. So let's assume you open up a new instance of Power BI Desktop. Okay, here comes my hold music again. We just have to wait patiently. Hopefully that becomes a top 10 song. Ta-da. Come on.
Top three.
Sorry? Okay,
Destined for the top.
Yeah, it's coming up now. So what I just want to demonstrate is how to install say a template, just like we have templates in PowerPoint, right? We also have templates, of how our visuals should look like within MFT. So to do that, go to Import, Power BI template. Now I've got a sample of the template on my desktop somewhere. MFT standard visuals, Power BI, MFT template. If I click on Open, and that's what you get. Obviously, you have to bring in your data, and then you'll get your fields in the field pane, and then you start, putting information in where it needs to be. You got your slicer, your time slicer, your day slicer, probably get your KPI here and your visuals in your cards, your table, you know. But that's what the template looks like. Okay, so I think we've covered everything for today. I guess the last thing again is if you need to save your work, right? So you can publish if you have access to the workspace. That is Power BI service. If the license you have permits you to do that, you can click on publish. So let's assume we've finished our report, right? Do you want to save desktop? Yeah. Let's say, yeah, I want to save. Okay. Okay, let's call it Inter. I just call it into one. You know, I'm just going to delete that later anyway. Save. And then it's connected to my Power BI service. It's asking me where do I want to put it. So I've got my workspace. I'm not going to save because I've got a lot of stuff in there right now. But once you click on your workspace and you click select, it saves it onto the Power BI service. There you can access it. You can share your workspace with your colleagues to see your report. Right now, if you don't have access to the Power BI service, you can come to File, click Save As, and then you'll save it as a PBIX file. Now you can share this file with your colleagues. That file will include all the data set they need to interrogate what you've done, but they will be able to open it only if they have Power BI Desktop. If they don't have Power BI Desktop, they won't be able to open it. So this is, you know, only good for developer to developer collaboration. For the rest of us, you can visualize. So if you have Power BI app installed on your Microsoft Teams, for example, you can just click on it and it will take you to your workspace. And so this is my workspace. So these are some of the reports that have, where are you? What's going on here? These are some of the reports that I've published in the past. Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, so these are some of, and you can see my name on it. Right. So, and this is what happens. So here, it comes in with a report itself. So an example of one. So this is a report that I did, and these are the various pages. You can see the pages that will come with the report, and you know you have the same level of interaction, just like you have built it. Again, from a foundation class, you can share, you can do all sort of things within. So anybody that you give access to will be able to interrogate your data at the end of the day. So this is how you publish and share your data. Okay. Right. What else have we not covered? I think that's everything. So yeah, okay. Right, so here we are at the end of the course. We've just finished the intermediate developer training. And yeah, I would like to hear your feedback. So let's all unmute our microphone. And Pearly, what has been the learning experience so far?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, could learn a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of new stuff, and it's definitely going to be
Mm.
useful for me and my team.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is just the beginning, because I'm sure you know that we cannot do justice properly within 2 hours.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, it was really nice. It was really useful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. I'm trying to see if I can send you my, I think I don't need to. So first of all, if you can scan the QR code, it will take you to the feedback form. If you have a problem with that, just let me know. Probably we'll look for the link and put it in the chat box. But if you can complete the feedback form for me, yeah, I will very, very much appreciate that. If you have any comment, any thing that you want to say, please do say it. If you need to get in touch with us, we have the Power BI implementation team at mft.nhs.uk. You can also find me on Teams, so you can send me a chat. If you have any issues, if it's something that I can help with, I'll be more than glad to help you with. If you go to the support hub, which probably some of you or all of you probably would have seen at some point in time. Here we are. If we go here, corporate services, Power BI support, brings you to the Power BI support hubs, and it contains everything about Power BI, about the initiative as we are rolling it out within the trust. So you got past videos of some of our sessions. Yeah, you can see foundation sessions. So if you want, I think this is probably some of our best performance as trainers. So it's all there. Basic developer, and I think the intermediate session will come in at some point in time. And of course, these are the available dashboards. Right, so if you go to the Power BI service, you can look at the available dashboard if you have access to it. If you don't have access to it, there's a way you can come here to request for access. So Power BI, it will take you through how to get that license request, Power BI dashboard access request. So you have all that here. It'll probably take you to the service desk portal. So again, we will have drop-in sessions. So if you have specific issues or domain problems, you can book into one of our domain sessions. We're there to help you. Yeah. So, and then you get all the slides. If you click on learning, all the slides of the course will be here. Intermediate developer card, which is what we have here, and the slides, they're all here. So those are all, everything that we have that can support your journey as you become proficient in Power BI. Like the great philosopher always say, the Mandalorian, he said, this is the way. Power BI is the way. All right. Thank you very much. Analyst.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thomas?
Yes. No, that's
Thank-
great. Thanks very much for your help. That's
Thank-
it's a real insight and very thorough. So I think it's no doubt going to throw up more questions, but it's good to see the resources are there, and I'm sure I'll be contacting you soon with plenty more questions.
You're welcome. Challenge me. I'm glad to, you're welcome. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.